Thank you, Christine, and thank everybody for being here today for this occasion. Unfortunately, like Christine said, disasters do happen in cities, and but as these resources come available to us, and as programs such as the SBA are here to help to make us more resilient. So we are absolutely ecstatic to have them here on the island. This is an incredible collective effort for the benefit of our citizens, our businesses, and our organizations here on the island and here on the county, in the county as well. We look forward to working with the SBA. Thank you to Mark Winchester and his team for being here. We're very glad to have her here. And again, I want to reiterate, Galveston is open for business. I'd like to bring up Associate Administrator Francisco Sanchez, who's here visiting us from DC, but is a local Texan, and he's going to give us some remarks.
Good morning. How are y'all? Good morning. It's nice to be back home where I can say y'all and people know what I'm talking about. So thank you for Vision Galveston for hosting this recovery center and hosting this event and bringing together this community, and Mayor Brown for your leadership during the disaster. We look forward to being strong partners with Galveston as we move through the recovery of Hurricane Beryl. I know the Texans are hurting. I had the opportunity to lead Houston before this role through what was an average of about a presidentially declared disaster about every 9 months. So no stranger to this, and I've had also the privilege of serving on command staff for 4 of our nation's 10 most costly natural disasters. And for the first time in this community, I have now seen 2 presidentially declared disasters of this scope and magnitude literally weeks apart. Now, I've seen that in other parts of the country. We're experienced with disasters. I have yet to, this is the first time I'm seeing that here, so I know that we have a lot of work to do, but we recover stronger when we work together, so I appreciate the opportunity to be here on the ground in Galveston. And Galveston is open. It's open for business. So if you are in Houston or you're in Texas and other parts of the country, I can personally tell you that Galveston is a great place to be for the beaches, for the food, and for the people, so Galveston is open for business, and so remember that. Together, we're going to work across local, state, federal, business, and nonprofit organizations to get Texans back on their feet. I have directed SBA's disaster teams to make every resource available, and so I appreciate the mayor and Vision Galveston for opening their doors here so that people can come in person and get the resources that they need, and we will be here as long as it takes. Now, while I'm honored to be President Biden's appointee to lead disaster recovery and resilience for SBA, as the chairman mentioned earlier, the title that matters to me most is Texan, Houston in particular, and it's called the Houston-Galveston region for a reason. We are so deeply tied together in what we do. I have friends that work here, play here, sometimes come here to work and play more than they work, but that is why we love Galveston. So why is SBA even here for a disaster? Many people don't know that SBA helps homeowners, renters, businesses, and private nonprofits. And we do that because your employees, your customers, are homeowners and renters, and we are taking that whole approach to how we help communities recover. And SBA really is the primary source for capital when you need money for underinsured or uninsured losses to private property. Again, SBA helps homeowners, renters, businesses, and private nonprofits. And so how different is that from FEMA? Well, FEMA gives you a grant, right? You don't have to pay that back. It's available to homeowners in a very narrow case. It can help entrepreneurs that work out of home in the gig economy based on some new enhancements in FEMA programs. But SBA are the folks that will help you with those uninsured or underinsured losses. And our programs to help disaster survivors are stronger than they've ever been. Unfortunately, in the 20 years that I was here helping to lead emergency management and recovery efforts, we learned a lot of lessons. And now we are taking those lessons that we earned in Texas and taking them to the national level, and what we're seeing is the greatest transformation of SBA's disaster enterprise in the agency's 70-year history. So what do I mean by low interest long-term loans? Because the last thing you want to think about is a low interest long-term loan or lending at all. But if you were severely damaged, you're going to need access to capital, right? That's just, that is the reality. And so with homeowners, we help up to $500,000 for physical damage. If you are a homeowner or a renter, up to $100,000 for personal property, so furniture, your vehicle, clothes, any kind of personal property that you need to replace. And if you are a business, or up to $2 million for physical damage and economic injury. And I want to stress particularly what economic injury means. That means your revenues are down. It means your employees can't come in because power is out. It means your customers maybe can't show up because of transportation or power, and that you're going to have a challenge paying for your usual common operating expenses. Economic injury is something that we can help businesses for. So if your restaurant is suffering, if your Airbnb is suffering, if your hotel, if somehow on this island in Galveston or anywhere in this region that's a declared disaster, if your business has economic injury, we can help you with that. And again, I said, I know the last thing people want to think about loans, but let me be very clear. For a homeowner right now, or a renter, 2.68% over 30 years is the interest rate. If you are a business, listen closely, if you are a business that needs access to capital for physical damage or for economic injury because this storm has affected your revenue, it's as low as 4% over 30 years. And we've also implemented, I talked about, this is the greatest transformation of SBA's disaster enterprise in the agency's 70-year history. One of the most sweeping reforms signed by the SBA Administrator Guzman last year is that if you get an SBA disaster loan, you don't have to make a payment for 12 months and at 0% interest, so that you can focus on what matters most, and that is your own personal and business recovery, so you can get back on your feet, and so you can focus on that. And if you're a business and you can figure out how to come up with what that loan amount before the first payment is due, that's basically a 0% loan, right? And unfortunately, we heard this earlier, Texas isn't new to disasters. And while we're here to help you recover, we also want to make sure you're resilient in the face of disasters to come. So if you had physical damage, you can add up to 20% on top of that to help build back in a way that is more resilient in the future. Now, just last year, you could only mitigate against the type of disaster you just were hit by. But in Texas, we're susceptible now to hurricanes, floods, surge, and ice storms apparently now, right? So now, because of policy changes, you can mitigate against any type of disaster that you might encounter here. A couple of things you should know as I've spoken to businesses across this state and here in Galveston. If you have already hired a contractor, you can still apply for an SBA loan even though you may have already made payments, and we don't need receipts for up to $50,000. You can process that SBA loan now. Over $50,000, you need to bring the receipts, but if you already hired a contractor, you can come for an SBA loan. You can use an SBA loan to help pay for your deductible, right? As the prices of insurance goes up and so do deductibles, you can do that as well. If you got a COVID loan, if you are currently paying off on another disaster loan, because we've had a few disasters here, you can still apply for a loan, and that's simply tied to your demonstrated ability to pay. So we urge you to think about that. And so SBA right now is on the ground in 34 disasters across this country, across 24 states and 240 counties. But I'm here in Galveston and in Texas because it's important to me, it's important to the administration, it is important for the economic engine that is this country. So I will close with just a reminder that I know Texans are hurting, and that's why I'm here. And I also know while some people are ready to be on the road to recovery, we have some people that are still trying to get the lights on. If you are ready, we're here for you. If you're still trying to figure out how to get back in your feet and your lights on, we will be here. This is just one center that we're opening here in Galveston, at Vision Galveston. We're opening more across this state. I happened to be here actually on the day of the derecho. I was with Mayor Whitmire at the time, and I promised the federal response would be swift. The president signed the declaration the next day. Because of what happened to Beryl, I was here 2 days after landfall, visited with county judges and mayors and business leaders and the faith-based community and nonprofits to hear directly from what they needed. Again, I promised the federal response would be swift. Within a day of the declaration, the president signed that disaster declaration. And so my commitment to you, to Galveston Mayor, Vision Galveston, my promise today is that we'll be here as long as it takes. So we will work across local, state, federal, and nonprofit partners and folks like Vision Galveston and our partners here to make sure that Galveston has every resource that it needs, because we recover strongly together. So thank you for having us.
Hard to follow in those shoes. Very good news to hear from everybody. I'm Keith Bassett with the Galveston Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the oldest Chamber of Commerce in the state of Texas, established back in 1845, and we've been through many storms, and this is no exception. So the Chamber activated their recovery page and has been contacting all their members to get out in the community to figure out what we can do to help. And we've been trying to match people to all of the recovery items that are out there. And we've been trying to advocate for all the businesses that were able to open very quickly, and we continue to do so. News that just came through last night, Judge Henry has appointed a recovery task force, as he did during COVID, and he's asked Gina Spagnola, our president and CEO, to once again head this county recovery task force consisting of all Galveston County presidents and CEOs. So we're excited to be able to announce that we will be in charge of that. The Hotel and Lodging Association and the Restaurant Association has also asked the Chamber to serve as the sounding board and roundtable for those industries. So we will be assisting them as everybody gets back on their feet. So just want to make sure everybody knows that we are here as we are during every storm, and we are open for business. And thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. It's a pleasure being here this morning. And before we start, I want to recognize we have Councilwoman Sharon Lewis with us this morning. Sharon, thank you for being here. You know, they asked me as mayor of Galveston, they say, what's the benchmark that you have to arrive to say that we're back open for business? And I look at it, and my initial reply was that our infrastructure has to be back. Our water, our electricity, our sanitation department, things like that have to be back up and running back to the way we were before the storm. But I was thinking about it this morning, and an integral part of this infrastructure is having the ability for our residents to work with our government to receive loans to get them back into business and receive loans to get them back into a solvency in their residential structures. Your description of what the SBA does was phenomenal. Thank you for that, and I appreciate that. So on behalf of the city of Galveston, I want to thank the SBA, BRC, for being here in Galveston, and I want to thank Vision Galveston also for providing a home for this SBA very important activity for our residents. Thank you.
Dr. Miles Shelton from the college.
Good morning. So not only do I represent Galveston College this morning in our educational community, but I'm also chair of the Galveston Economic Development Partnership. The partnership is a membership-driven organization to promote the economic welfare and development of this community. And guys, I want to tell you, we couldn't do it without the SBA, without the BRC, and without partners and the teams in the city and across this community that have come together to bring Galveston back. So thank you for being here. Thank you so much. And let me just give you an example. So we have businesses right here that are open for business. Our beaches are open, our hotels are open, our restaurants are open, our port is open, the cruise industry is open, our educational community is open. But we have pockets of need. I was talking to a business owner yesterday, and he got power back, and then all of a sudden he had a water leak, and the power pole sunk and pulled the power lines down. Now he has no power and no water, and he thinks he might be open in a week or 10 days. He's not sure. But, that's just an example of one business that's struggling in a community that is ready and open for business. So we're glad the SBA is here. We're glad of the partnerships with Vision Galveston, the Galveston Chamber, and across this community that are going to make this community better as we go forward. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, the Houston District Office Director, Mark Winchester. Sir.
Good morning. I've been with SBA for 14 years, and I haven't seen so many important partners together in one place other than right here and right now. I thank Mayor Brown with the City of Galveston, Ms. Leandra Thompson with the Tri-County Black Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Tyler Robert with Build Galveston, Ms. Gina Spagnola with the Galveston Regional Chamber of Commerce, Keith Gray with the Galveston Economic Development Partnership, and Amy Reed with the Galveston SBDC, the Small Business Development Center. I also like to thank Ms. Amy Reed, Madam CEO with Vision Galveston, Ms. Candy Hadnig with the Projects and Communications Manager, and Vision Galveston. It was just a year ago that SBA and Vision Galveston signed an MOU, and since that time, SBA Houston and Vision Galveston have collaborated on multiple events, oftentimes with the SBDC, including veteran workshops, disaster workshops, resources for Vision Galveston Incubate, funding for SBIR, and most recently, the third annual Success in Business Government Contracting Juneteenth celebration. I also celebrate Vision Galveston and their great work with Mortar, guiding minority-owned businesses here on the island through entrepreneurship, connecting them with resources. I also thank SBA's Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. I thank Associate Administrator Francisco Sanchez. Associate Administrator Sanchez is always here, always in Houston, and is committed to Houston and Southeast Texas. And I'm very grateful for his leadership. I thank PIO Sushil Kumar, Public Information Officer, Ms. Elizabeth Vargas, Ms. Barbara Nidus, Mr. Dylan McNally, as well as the entire ODRR team here at the BRC. SBA's mission has been here for 73 years, and its mission is to make the American dream of business ownership a reality. What does that mean for you? It means that we are here for the long term. We are here for the long haul, and SBA will bring all the resources to bear, whether it's capital, contracting, counseling, or disaster and recovery and resilience. Now I'd like to turn it back over to SBA Public Information Officer, Mr. Sushil Kumar. Thank you.
For the sake of time, I'll keep my comments very brief, and my comments are really meant to express my gratitude. May I have you join me, Madam CEO? May I have you join me at the podium? So I met Christine Bryant literally less than a week ago, and it was all put together as a result of Mr. Winchester. Where'd you go? Mr. Winchester, wherever you are. How are you, sir? We're on a joint call together, and in less than a few days, and thanks to the leadership of Mrs. Sanchez and Ms. Guzman, here we have a business recovery center. So a round of applause for all of them, please. As a result of our partnership, she introduced me to the amazing Gina Spagnola, Tyler, Michelle, Mayor, you, sir, a councilwoman, Dr. Shelton, of course, Michelle, couldn't do without you. So a great deal of gratitude all around. I want to emphasize economic injury from my banking career days. I was a banker for about 29 years and with the SBA for the past 13. Economic injury is the most insidious disease that an economy can inherit post-disaster. So the lifeline of any business during normal times, and especially during disaster, is the need for capital. Restaurants, hospitality, you name it. I am more than glad with my team to make presentations at each individual locations. I'll be at the summit tomorrow, Dr. Shelton, so we have in my presentation. So I want to make sure that you folks leave this particular event knowing that we're committed, as my boss and Administrator Sanchez mentioned, and thanks to his leadership, we have a lot of resources available, higher amounts, the underinsured and the uninsured piece like you talked about. And the other part that I want to talk to you folks about really quickly is we will cover deductibles. Insurance deductibles are high. They tend not to cover 100 cents on the dollar, the insurance policies. So between insurance proceeds, FEMA grants, and the largest source of funds for privately damaged properties post-disaster, which is the SBA, that's how we take care of the unmet need created by the disaster. Thanks for all of you. Appreciate you, sir, being here. All of the dignitaries, economic development.
Everyone that's watching too about this location and the hours of operation.
Perfect. You put me on a spot in terms of the hours of operation. I'm going to look to you for that. 9 to 6. And 2121 Market Street is our location. We have a staff that's ready to pounce on every application and help the needs of the many. Thank you, Madam Amazing Gina Spagnola. I heard that she worked with Pam Tumpap over at the Maui Chamber, and they are best friends and they know each other. What a small world. So thank you for that. I spoke to Pam yesterday, and she says, thank you for all that you do. Amazing partnership, terrific people. Everybody knows everyone's a small world. So let's work collaboratively and return Galveston back to its norm. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we're free to move around. The mayor's got to leave at 9:45, so does my associate administrator.